wholeness and balanced vibration to everyone, and thank you for tuning in. Today we're going to be talking about the master's pose, and I'm going to show that technique here so that everyone becomes acclimated with it. And I just wanted to say, first and foremost, the master's pose is an adept thing. It's not something that you should be practicing on when you're first starting your meditations, etc. And we're going to get right into this. You're going to hear a little bit of background noise because I had the window open because these lights in here are a little hot. But the first thing is you're going to need to practice astral hygiene. We talk about this on the resistance, that basically most of the experiences that a person has when they're in the altered state of consciousness, such as through meditation, if that experience is negative, it has a lot to do with what is exactly in their immediate environment. And in order to purge those things out, you can choose to utilize sage, or you can also utilize high frequency. We do have some high frequencies available on the resistance, downloadable for free, that you can go ahead and purge the environment of negative energies. So the first thing that you're going to need is you're going to need some pillows. And of course, since we're here on the bed, there should be some pillows. And you're going to need two. One mainly for putting underneath your knees, because of course, as you're sitting here in this pose, your knees will start to hurt because the floor, maybe if you have carpet, but this of course is a wooden floor. So the first thing is to get that pillow down there. And so we're just going to get right into this. So your back is definitely straight. It's straight to the instance of how you would be straight if you were standing. And that's really the whole key to the master's pose, is it actually allows you to go have your spine completely straight while still being in this particular posture. And this benefits you because there's actually water in the knees, so it allows you to be able to carry the vibration better. But the master's pose goes deeper than that. The master's pose is about when a person has gotten so advanced with their meditation that they are concerned about, if standing up or if sitting in a chair, falling out and passing out. And in many cases, this hinders people from breaking beyond the points of meditation where there's really the interesting stuff and what goes on, like I said, in the altered fields of consciousness. But it requires that you actually lose consciousness in this world at times. And so, of course, people are concerned whether they're going to bump their head and things like that. But the way the master's pose actually works is that it allows you to, when you're actually practicing your breathing technique, that in the event that you start to lose consciousness, you can just fall over. And this allows you not to get hurt. So because that safety measure is in place, then it gives you a lot more confidence to meditate beyond the points of where you're normally losing consciousness. So let's talk about a little bit of the breathing techniques that are associated with this. Now, of course, there's a lot of information that talks about not holding your breath. And this seems to be one of the latest trends within the meditative world, the new age meditative world. But the fact is that just as you have rhythmic breathing, you can also choose to hold your breath like holding your breath in, or also exhaling and then holding your breath. And those who practice those techniques generally get a lot further in their meditative exercises than those who don't. Of course, rhythmic breathing can get you to these states also, but have a tendency to take a lot longer. But again, the goal here is not to rush, but more to learn more ways of being able to enter into states of consciousness depending upon the situation. So what I normally do is I practice, of course, the diaphragm whole body breathing. And this breathing requires for us to inflate the lower part and the back part of our diaphragm here in the lower part of our stomach. So when you watch us breathe, it's our stomach, it's your stomach that you need to be getting, that needs to be coming out. So breath out, breath in. So you'll notice that when breathing in, the stomach comes out. When breathing out, the stomach goes in. You need to make sure that your breathing is like that rather than breathing in the chest. Breathing in the chest is not going to get you into the altered state of consciousness. So what we practice is the diaphragm breathing, and then how this works, I'm not going to show it all here because of course we would have to go, this takes several levels of breathing. But what you would do is you would basically get yourself in the breathing position and then begin to breathe. You could choose to close your circuits even here and just lay your hands on this. I have a pillow down here, so even laying your hands right here on this pillow. So as you see, you can accomplish all of your postures and all of your positions in the master's pose. And also you can make sure that your coccyx is open by opening your legs, not letting your legs touch themselves, but actually open them up, and that opens up the coccyx. So it opens up that small hole in the base of your spine. And so now that you're set to do that, now you're going to take your deep breaths. So what this is about taking very deep breaths, holding those breaths, and then breathing out. Very deep breaths. So the first level of this breathing technique is more to get yourself into the more calm state that comes with your first wave of meditation. And so remember, in that first wave of meditation, at times you're trying to get your breathing matched up properly. You're trying to figure out if you're going to breathe through your mouth or breathe through your nose. And many people have different techniques, and that's why I'm not going to go right into this is how you should do it, because other people would say, well, you're not even supposed to use this kind of breathing technique. But for me personally, I've been able to get my body acclimated to coming out of the body this way by basically being conscious when I lose consciousness. And over several stages of this, you actually become more active in the other world. And so remember, what you're going to be doing here is you're going to be doing the meditation, and then you're going to be filling your body up with air, and you're just working on filling your body up with oxygen, so that way when you go to hold your breath, let's say after 20 or 30 draws of breath, when you go to hold that 30th or 31st draw, you have a fully oxygenated body. So what actually starts to happen is, and remember this pose is key, because the pose is what actually starts to make you feel this way, is as you're holding it, you don't feel like you need to breathe, because of course you don't. There's tons of oxygen in your body. Then you start to feel that slight, oh my goodness, maybe I'm about to pass out. But you want to push through this, because remember, you won't feel like you need to breathe. And those who feel like they need to breathe before they're passing out, it just means you're not oxygenated enough. So you need to keep that diaphragm breathing going on until enough of that gets into your blood supply. So when you take that draw, you can actually hold your breath. And then what you'll find is as you hold your breath, you'll feel the consciousness beginning to pass. You're beginning to basically feel like you're about to pass out. Now, the reality becomes at that point is now you don't need to worry about hurting yourself. In fact, sometimes you can actually lay down with having the, you can lay down with having this, the moment before you're about to pass out, and you'll maybe wake back up and you'll be like there laying down and you'll be like, man, it must have happened. So what this does is, and they talk about, they have secret teachings that they talk about this, but what it does is it's called, I call it personally the back door, because generally people will go into an altered state of consciousness anyway when they fall asleep and they go into the dream world. What this is about inducing that. And some of the things that you'll discover is, one, when you're coming back, things that are making a little bit of noise will be exceptionally loud, like insects and things of this nature. You'll also notice there being a field of completely white. What I wanted to talk about very briefly while we're in this recording, and as I said, there's a little bit of outside noise, so just bear with it, is this is a pine cone. And the reason why they talked about this pine cone, and you see a lot of individuals related to this, such as Tammuz and the Sumerians, is because what you see on the back of the pine cone, this cornucopic field, is actually the visual perspective of the third eye, or the pineal gland. And this becomes very important because what you'll notice is that this cornucopic field is actually what you're looking to open up or see when you're in the altered state of consciousness and utilizing your pineal gland. And through this cornucopic field, anything can be generated. And we talked really briefly about how this really works, but I can only explain it to you this way. There is a state that you can put yourself in where you can literally see what you'll be doing tomorrow. To make it a little bit more lighter or simpler, we'll talk about basically you'll have a dream of tomorrow and what you'll be doing tomorrow, but today. And in that dream or in that meditation, you are capable of moving certain things around that would happen or would not happen, or etc. You can move things around, and then the next day you actually run the actual course itself, or you recognize things that were in the dream. So because of the time delay on this planet, like I said, is more related to the pentagram, it allows there to be a certain delay where, as a Time Lord, for better lack of words, you can go into tomorrow, move things around, but you can do that today. So that's what we're talking about with the meditations and what's actually happening here. And last thing that I wanted to show really brief is a very nice seashell that I picked up at the beach, or was given to me. But you'll notice that there's this spiral of phi going on here, which we show connects to the pentagram. We showed it connects to the golden mean. But the reason why this becomes important, because this is a shell. And if you notice in the spiritual teachings, it talks about the shells being some of the lower life forms, or demons as they will call them. But the reality is that the way life comes from the top and from the bottom. So it's very difficult to say where a person actually began. But in many cases, that this phi-like relationship or shell-like relationship is what many of us are coming out of. And so we have this opportunity to more or less break out of the shell and to enter into unhindered geometry, for better lack of words. And so I'm just going to leave it at that. I want to thank you for tuning in. This is definitely The Resistance, and my name is James Evans Bomar III. I'm the developer of The Resistance.